All right, I think we're on. Hey everybody, welcome to this webinar. We're really excited here. Yeah, there's Will. And so
Hello.
what I want to do first, yeah, and I'll give, we're really excited today. This is really, if you can't already tell. So thank you all who are, yeah, it'll be cool. So to go ahead and just jump right in, and side note, this is being recorded too. So if you have anybody who's, coming in late, or if you have to hop off, a client comes in, we get it. This is being recorded and it'll be sent out after this. So heads up on that. But I just want to say, welcome again to this Travefy Academy webinar with our featured guest, Destin Wedding Specialist, Will Medina. To give you a quick plug on Travefy Academy though, and kind of what to expect on today's webinar. So at Travefy, we get the opportunity to work with all kinds of amazing travel advisors from around the world. And we get to learn about what travel professionals are doing to build their business. So what we wanted to do was start sharing these stories through Travefy Academy, which is what we're doing today. So we're really excited to provide this educational webinar. And our hope for Travefy Academy is really just to be a resource for travel advisors from a wide range of perspective and different experience levels, like you'll find in today's webinar. So with that being said, let's get started here. So I first want to, well, I should introduce myself, I suppose. So I'm Stephanie, and I'm the community outreach manager at Travefy. And we also have a founding member of the Travefy team, Scott Rutz, on here as well. He's going to be in the questions, though, so he'll be in the little question box. So he'll be hopping in and out answering those questions in that chat area. So you will have those area, and someone can respond to you really quick as we're talking. But then we also have our special guest, Will, who I'm excited to introduce. And like I mentioned too, I just want to reiterate this one more time. If you do have questions throughout this, chat in that box, and we might just answer them at the end. So we will do a Q&A session. So if they don't get answered right away, no worries. We might be chatting about it at the end there. But now for the fun part, let's introduce our guest, Will. So Will Medina is a leader in the world of destination weddings. He helps brides create their dream weddings, and he helps other travel agents build six-figure businesses by niching in the destination wedding market. So he's really got both sides, which is really, really cool. So Will, thanks for being here today. This is awesome.
Thank you, Stephanie, for having me. And Scott, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you guys for a while now. And I'm excited to be a part of Travefy Academy, which I think is a super cool concept where you guys are kind of like putting all the pieces together and bringing, just more information to the travel professionals beyond the whole product thing, which I think it's so overdone. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And and so what we're going to do today is with Will, I mean, you have a plethora of knowledge, and it's really cool too that you just work on both ends. You work with travel advisors, and you also do, you're working actually with travelers and stuff and brides, which is really cool. So we want to start this off fun. So we have a question for you. So
Yeah.
tell us a fun story of how you saved the day and saved a wedding from a near tragedy. Everyone
Oh,
has one of those stories. What is yours?
yes, I have a few, but I'm gonna start with one that I think it's gonna be very familiar to, especially those professionals that have been in the niche for a while, in the romance travel arena. So about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I got hired to plan a destination wedding. This destination wedding was gonna be the largest I have done to date. And it was gonna be a pretty like A-list, destination wedding to Turks and Caicos. It was to Beaches, which is the family brand of sandals. For those of you that are familiar, everything around that sounds amazing. A-list, large, like 150 people, and at Beaches Turks, it was like commission dream, right? So we started planning. We had everything buckled down. We were just about to sign the contract for the room block, and all of a sudden, Zika starts to break out. And it's like, oh, hell no. Like everybody in her family was concerned because they were one of these couples that were kind of having issues with, just like conceiving naturally. So they wanted to have the wedding and automatically like start trying. And, Zika comes about. What happens? That doesn't work anymore. So fast forward, we start looking at other destinations. When Zika came about, it was really hard because it was like everywhere, right? And it was one of those things when you're planning a destination wedding, you're planning for a year from now.
Mhm.
very, very hard to predict what's going to happen in the Caribbean and all that good stuff. Well, we end up moving the wedding to Vegas.
Oh,
Okay. And I'm
nice.
like, I don't really do Vegas wedding, but they were friends. And again, I was very interested in, being having my name attached to this wedding. So I proceed to help them plan the wedding. Obviously, a little bit different because it's not all inclusive. So the resort had a little bit more of the same. We move on. We plan the wedding. I connect them with the coordinator. Fast forward to about 30 days before the wedding, final payment was due for the wedding. We had already done the thing. Obviously, everything has been virtual because they live in a different state. So we had 3 different time zones involved.
Oh,
Swear to
jeez.
God, 28 days before, she emails me, "Hey, Will," no, she texts me, "Hey, Will, have you heard from the hotel? Because we had to make the final payment 2 days ago." We reach out to the hotel. The person that was in charge, meaning the coordinator on site, got fired.
Oh,
And
no.
that person had a lot of files. Her file fell through the crack, and there was nobody had the file. So literally we had to jump. My bride was meltdown mode. I don't have Brazilla, so she had full rights to be pissed off and upset and whatnot. 120 people were coming to this wedding. Long story short, it ended up being where we had to, about 25 days before, schedule a 3-way call on Zoom with the resort, with her and myself, and basically replan the entire wedding because none of the stuff that we had ordered had made it to the final file. So there you go. We planned a wedding for 120 guests in Vegas in about 27 days before the wedding.
Oh.
In about 4 hours, I should say, because it took that long to just basically replug everything and make new choices. And that was pretty scary.
Wow. Yeah. You probably did not get much sleep those 27 days.
Actually, the nice thing about, when you specialize in destination weddings and you get to learn the process, the really good thing is that you kind of know where to plug the holes. So
Mhm.
literally those 4 hours, that we jump on that 3-way phone call, it just fixed most of it. Obviously, I was very aware the rest of the time. Then I went to the wedding to make sure everything went perfect. And everything worked out, but those 4 hours could have turned into a month of nightmare if I didn't know
Mhm.
what I was doing.
That's true, yeah. And that's really nice too that we have the technology now where you can just like hop on the computer. You don't have to like go anywhere, that's crazy.
Oh my God,
That's
technology is my
awesome.
BFF. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's a cool story. And that right there says that I think we're going to learn a lot from you today. It's a pretty
I
cool.
hope so.
And yeah, thank you for sharing that. So I do have, so this kind of, well, to kind of pivot a little bit into now the business side is, so before you mentioned, in that story, you're like, thank gosh I knew this stuff. So what is before that? What is one thing that you wish you knew before starting your business in groups and destination weddings?
I have to say the one thing that I knew before when I started doing destination weddings about 7 years ago, 8 years ago already. At the beginning, it was really just like it just kind of fell on my lap. I put my first group together when I opened my agency, and from that group, I got a referral because one of them fell in love with Punta Cana, which is my hometown, and I was escorting the group, and that's how kind of like I fell into this. But it was not like my niche, so to speak. Um, Once I decided to really make this my niche about 5, 6 years ago, I really wish I would have known to not be so scared of the wedding portion of it. So many people in the travel industry, want to handle destination wedding, and oh, I don't want to deal with the Brazilas, or I don't want to do anything with the wedding portion of it. And I really wish I would have been a little bit more exposed to the fact that there's nothing wrong with understanding the logistics of how a wedding gets planned, and especially coordinated from a distance with the resort's on-site coordinators. It just makes everything so much easier to stay in the loop of what when things are happening. And that doesn't mean I don't plan the wedding from the point of picking flowers and picking napkins and whatever, but really knowing the process so that I
Mhm.
can fill in the gap. It's really what has helped me succeed in the destination wedding business and close more sales. So I wish I knew that you kind of have to marry the two if you want to make this your niche.
And how many years too have you, or when did you start doing it? How many years have you been doing like destination weddings?
So I started my business 9 years ago. As I said, it was not wedding related whatsoever. It was just a travel agency. All I knew at the time was, all inclusives in Dominican Republic.
Hmm.
A year after, I got my first destination wedding from that group. Then after that, I would say for the next 2 to 3 years, I was getting like 1 to 2 destination weddings a year because I was dabbling at everything. I was terrified to
Hmm.
niche and whatnot. But I would say that I made this my niche and said, screw it. I rather people forget that I do Disney, that I do cruises, that I do whatever, and think
Yeah.
of me as a destination wedding guy. About 5 years.
Oh, okay. And
Mhm.
random question for you is what made you like destination weddings so much? Like, what was it that was about it that you're like, I love doing helping brides with this?
You know, Funny story. It's that didn't happen to me. Um, I did those destination weddings, and at the time they were just group travel to me, right? I
Okay.
really didn't get involved very much. So needless to say that out of my first probably 5 weddings, I didn't learn a damn thing about destination weddings because I was again that travel advisor that I was like, hey, I just want the travel part of it, right? So I was not
Hmm.
really exposed to the process and the packages and when brides come to me with 4 different destinations in mind and I only have $10,000 for me to say without a ton of research, okay, I got something for you, right? And then just start from there. Um, it was not until, like I said, about 5, 6 years ago that I was about to quit. I was doing
Okay.
travel part time and I was very, tired and burned out of just putting so many hours into this business and just making a couple $100 a month. And I'm like, okay, this is not enough for the amount of hours that I'm putting in. I had a full-time job, I had a part-time job, I was going to school, like there was a lot going on, and the return was really not making sense. So I remember calling my host agency at the time and telling the person that was my mentor and just basically telling her that I was calling to quit because it didn't make sense to make $4,000 or $5,000 a year after a few years in business and whatnot. And we started talking, and through that conversation, she basically told me, "How did you like those weddings that you did before?" And I'm like, "Well, they were all right." And she's like, "I think you would just be amazing at destination weddings." And I was like, "Oh, really? Like, why?" Needless to say, I didn't want to let her down. So I kind of set out in a journey to like rebrand. I printed new business cards and I did all these other things, and then just went after the business. However, at the time, the education in the niche was very, very limited. I mean, you were talking about 2 hours, you did something online, 2 hours, got a certificate, and now you were a specialist. So it was very slow progress at the time because of that. But to be honest, it was not something that I fell in love with. It was just I knew the groups part, I knew the all
Hmm.
inclusive part of it, and then she suggested that the destination when I'm like, I don't want to let you down, and then I made it my
Yeah.
business, to just become the best at this.
Oh, that's awesome. So you kind of had like your tribe there. So that's really cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So since you, I mean, very qualified, since you almost quit and then you kind of rebranded and now it just kind of took off from there. What is one of the first steps that someone should take to begin selling group and destination weddings? Like what is one of the best first steps that you think they could take?
I would say I would go back to the whole thing of education. I've actually mentored and talked and helped many agents that are starting out in the industry. And unfortunately, and I talked with a lot of executives from hotels and whatnot, and we have a problem where education has become where, again, it's just a couple of hours and you're an expert in whatever. I will have to say, we we have been made to believe the industry as a whole that destination weddings are easy. And I will say they're simple once you know them, but they're not easy, right? They're
Hmm.
very similar to groups, but they're different because with groups, it's harder to get into just groups because you have to either find a pipe piper, or you have to find, a company that you have to pitch it to. So there's not like that built-in urgency where this is happening within 12 months or this is happening at
Hmm.
the end of 2019. So I would say instead of like going and signing up right away for bridal shows, which is what everybody tells you to do, I would learn what it is that it takes. I would learn what is a destination wedding, what are the places that are affordable to have a destination weddings, and most importantly, the bride's journey, right? what are the things that these couples are struggling with that I can offer as a travel advisor that Expedia is not going to be able to offer them, or any other, agent that just dabbling at this. Um, Obviously, that is my approach as a solopreneur and as a home-based agent. If you work for a big agency that can give you leads, well, that's a different story. I didn't have that luxury. If you're just trying to do 2 destination weddings a year, well, keep working on good customer service and they will come eventually. But if you want to really go after the business, because there is a ton out there, I say get the education started, understand what it is, because every time you get a lead, you're going to have a much higher conversion rate.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because yeah, I have heard that, that just do this and do that and do that, and then you're good. But it's so much more than that, which is
it is so much.
Like, that's awesome. So kind of going off of that, marketing's a big play of that. And I know a lot of, we always get a lot of times travel professionals interested in learning, because marketing is always evolving and changing. There's always new things to do. So what are some marketing tips for travel planners that are just starting out in this niche that you have, or like what are ways that they can gain clientele for this niche, using marketing or marketing tools?
For me, marketing, I used to be one of those agents that hated marketing, right? Oh my God, I hate marketing so much. It's so overwhelming. Marketing to me, more than just like a one quick shot, is a strategy that you have to have. But we tend to complicate it, right? Marketing at the core of any job that you have ever had. When I was in banking, everything started with product knowledge, right? The difference here is that we want to learn, or we are pushed or fed so much product knowledge, meaning hotels, gazebos and guides and promotions and whatnot, that we approach marketing from essentially as if we were working for those hotels, right? And when a bride comes to me and she has 4 different countries, so 4 different, destinations or brands in her mind, me pushing her a specific product doesn't work, right? So first of all, would be to understand that the product is you, right? When I have my consultations, which I do them on camera, just like this with my brides one-on-one before they hire me, it's all about understanding that I am the solution to her problems. It's not any particular hotel. We're going to find that together. We're going to collaborate with you to show you what are the hotels that best match what you're asking me to do, right? Now, once you understand what are those issues that they are having, then you can go to what, in my opinion, is the best and the fastest way to get business, which is social media. Back in the days when I started specializing in this, it was all about go to the trade shows and whatnot. Brides today are not waiting for bridal show in January to go find information about destination weddings. Let me tell you where they're hanging out. They're hanging out on Instagram, 100% of them, and they're hanging out on Facebook groups for destination weddings. So if you don't have a group for destination weddings, start it today. But make sure that before you start it, so you don't get burned out, make sure that you have your strategy and you understand what problem you're solving for them, so that you show up and you post and you share resources and content. And let me tell you, at the beginning, you're going to do a lot of talking to yourself because they won't interact, but it doesn't matter. It took me like 2 years to build my Facebook group to good quality over quantity. And most of my leads come from those 2 sources, my Facebook group and my Instagram account.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Especially that it's free too. That's the thing that's so cool about it. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's free. Absolutely. It's just consistency.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I'm sure too, we'll probably come back to this and have more questions about marketing. But I do want to ask you another question here to kind of move into another topic here is, what are some of the most important steps that travel advisors should be aware of to build a sustainable and profitable group business? So you've kind of touched on a lot of this stuff, but to kind of bring it all together, what are some of those really important steps basically that maybe?
I think I can give you a few tips on that one. So I would say the first one is, again, we're talking about sustainable. If you are already overflowing in business and you don't need destination weddings, good for you. Just wait for the ones to come in and handle them. If you're trying to build your business around destination weddings, and you, whatever that number means for you, right? For some people, I remember last year, my number was 10. I just needed 10 weddings to pay my bills and, have the business of my dream that I wanted. And then it would just went up from there. And I'm like, whoa, all of a sudden I have way more business that I could handle. which is a good problem to have. But I would say number one is you have to specialize, right? And oftentimes, especially as new advisors, we're very scared. I know I was, to pick a niche, right? You can have two niches, that's fine. But if you don't, I promise you that your brides are not gonna find you on social media when you're talking about, $97 cruises, when they're looking for their dream wedding gazebo, or when they're looking for, for that group shot in there that is talking about the experiences of a destination wedding. And that's what you have to keep talking to. It becomes almost impossible to do it if you're not clear about it, because you won't know. You're just posting deals, you're posting about all these other stuff. And in my opinion, I would say, and this is the decision I had to make a couple of years ago, I'd rather people forget about me for a cheap cruise, this, that, or whatever, because all I need is 10 weddings a year. So every day that I showed up in social media, I showed up for that next appointment for one wedding versus 20 bookings for the month, right? Because that one wedding would bring me those 20 bookings. So it just takes a little bit of getting used to that idea, that it may take you a little longer to do it, but once it kicks off, it's gonna be a lot faster. So one, specialize. Number two, you have to be an educator. And what I mean by that is brides and couples or grooms, they're extremely overwhelmed with this process. They have never done this. Even if they got married with someone before, or this is their second marriage. I got a lot of couples that this is their second marriage. They didn't have the wedding of their dreams back then, or it was a wedding at home, or even if it was a destination wedding, which doesn't happen very often to have two back to back, it was with a different dude or a different country. Yeah. But you cannot educate them on the process if you don't know the process, right? So you have to be an educator, and you have to have solid systems. When I say systems, is you have to have a good follow-up strategy for those brides when they first contact you, because even after we have the consultation, sometimes it takes them 6 to 7 weeks to come back to me and say, I'm ready. At the beginning, they may just be talking about it. They may still need to get some yeses from their family members and whatnot. And what I see a lot of advisors do is that we get the lead and we get excited and we want to do all of this work up front before they are really ready to commit. And then we blame it on them. It's not their fault that we don't have a process. So having a solid process, for onboarding those clients, for billing those clients, to show them, I'm going to give you a website that is going to have this, and that, because they don't know. Like, couples even ask me, oh, do you send out when do you send out the invitation? They don't even know about the save the date, or they don't know that for a destination wedding, every other article out there on the magazines that they buy at, Publix or whatever store, Walgreens, which is nationwide, it's going to send the invitations 8 weeks before. Honey, 8 weeks before, we have to be at final payment already, right? Yeah. They don't know that. So that's when, to me, it just all goes back to understanding the process. Charge fees. This was something that I resisted for a very, very long time. And I believe that as long as you're allowed to do it, you have, in your state or whatever, your host agency, you have to have a fee structure, because number one, I've had couples tell me that they talked to another agent and their fiance said, but they're free. That must mean they suck. So we're going to go with you. And number two, you are going to put in a lot of time, and things do happen. Weddings get canceled. I had 2 large weddings canceled this year that would have total 80 rooms between the two of them, right? So having a fee up front allows you to pay for better tools so that you can manage, you can have a better CRM, you can have a better, you can pay for Travefy that will allow you the opportunity to present yourself in a more professional light. If you're trying to build a business, that is going to take you, 2 years for those weddings to actually travel, and you're trying to take it out of your pocket, it's just a lot harder to build that business. And then the other 2 resources that I would say for those newer to the niche, DWHSA, which is Destination Weddings and Honeymoon Specialists Association.
So long.
Yeah, it's one of the associations that were, fundamental to me when I started, when I focus on the niche. I've been a member from the very beginning. It's a great association for networking, just to talk to other agents. Please do not join. I always make this warning. It's a group of professionals, so don't join thinking you're gonna learn from beginning to end everything from the Facebook group, because that's not it. Okay.
Mhm.
And then obviously, shameless plug, the workshop that I am teaching nowadays, that I just started teaching, that is a true A to Z, uh, everything destination wedding business, that basically breaks down in 4 modules. So you have the destination wedding business as a whole, so the niche, you have the attraction and how to find those clients, you have conversion, which is what we're going through right now, 4 weeks of total sales skills and how to do the consultations virtually and whatnot. And then you have automation, which is what's going to allow you to free up so much time to sell more and to make sure that you cover your assets, where you're giving consistent service and information to everyone about their passports, the insurance, and that good stuff. You can achieve that through automation.
That's awesome. And yeah, and I put up information on here. Yeah, so so on your website, you can go, but you also have a Facebook group too, right, that people can join?
Yes. So, for those of you that have been in the industry for a while, I have been around for a very long time before Facebook groups were popular. But since they've been popular, I've always been very involved, because I am one of those people that believe in community versus competition. I truly believe that there is a lot of work for us to raise the bar as professionals so that we can stay relevant, especially in the destination wedding arena. There's a lot of planners nowadays that think they can do our job. They can't. We're not gonna prove that to the hotels and to the brides and whatnot just by being mad about it. We're only going to do that by raising the bar and helping, paying forward, mentoring other agents to become truly rock stars of this niche, because there's enough business to go around right now. Since November, my calendar has gone to like 2 appointments a month available, from like having
Mhm.
availability every single week, because I'm booked up, right? So I want more people that are qualified to actually do that. So yes, there is a Facebook group there. So my point with that was, I've been on Facebook groups for a long time. I run one that is for the Dominican Republic agents. We have like 1,400 agents, and now we have one that is called the Successful Travel Agents Tribe. And you can find the link to join on that website, which is willmedina.us. That's going to be my new home, where the courses, the workshop, and all that, and the speaking events are going to be listed on. But you can find the link to join the group in there. It'll be an honor to have you. Please answer the questions and tell me that you're coming from Travefy webinar, because otherwise I want to prove you. We don't want MLMs out there in the group. So just answer the questions, and we'll be good.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. So that's a cool thing. And yeah, we're going to get into questions here too. But just for everyone on here, though, we can keep this conversation going with Will into the Facebook group, and, lots of and all those resources he provides and stuff. Scott said that you're getting a lot of love in the questions. So that's cool. Lots of love going on. So yeah, really exciting time. Let's start answering some questions here. We have a lot that have been coming in, with all these other things that we've been talking about. One is from Anna, and she said, do you talk to the wedding co-coordinator with the bride, or do you let the bride speak directly to the wedding consultant at the resort?
So that is a fantastic question, Anna. My approach, right? I don't let my couples talk to any resort until we have a wedding date confirmed at the particular hotel. What I mean by that is, I do the middle, the middleman, so to speak, curation between the resorts. So I start with, like, I give them based on their wants and needs and budgets and whatnot. I usually give them 3 to 5 resorts that would match their needs. Then I ask them to please review without pricing. I ask them to please review it based on their style. Obviously, I'm recommending places that will be within their budget. Otherwise, there's no point. And then I ask them to narrow down to 1 or 2 properties. When we get down to those 1 or 2 properties, then I show them wedding packages and things like that I am the one getting from the resorts. I'm the one communicating with the resort, asking for the availability of the actual wedding date. So November 9th at 5 p.m., do you have that available? Yes. Why? Because I don't want those resorts, first of all, bombarding my bride, 3 or 4 resorts at the time. And second of all, because again, that's what makes me the expert, right? I am taking that stress away from them. Now, once we sign the contract with the resort, Then I introduce them to the resort coordinators, right? And then I
Hmm.
stay copy throughout the process. My couples understand that once we sign the contract, I am not, giving them pricing for flowers and centerpieces and whatever. They understand that from the very consultation. I explain
Hmm.
my process. But at that point, the resort takes over. However, I'm always copied because as part of that story that I told you about Vegas, if I
Yeah.
was copy on those email, I would have to sit there and ask that bride, can you send me the email that you sent them? No,
Hmm.
I had it. Give me until tomorrow. I will set up this meeting and I can scan those emails like this and find out exactly where to pick it up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes it
Yep.
easier. And this was another question from Anna that's just really interesting is do you travel with some or all of your destination weddings? So do you get to take part of them? Like I know we have that fun picture that I was showing.
Yes. So yes and no. I typically don't, and I would say 95% of my couples ask me, if I'm coming to the wedding. Some of them want me to give them pricing right away. How much would it cost for me to have you there?
Oh, yeah.
The truth is that I don't love going to the weddings. I went this year to two weddings, like that one that you have in the pictures was one of them.
Hmm.
And it was almost like a very strategic marketing thing that I did, just because I needed to refresh my website and
Oh, yeah.
and also I like to stay sharp on what's happening on property. So I had these two weddings in the same week in Mexico, two different resorts, and I'm like, okay, I'll just go. I stayed at a different resort and went to both, right? So I saw what was happening, and it just kind of keeps me sharp, right? But I also
Hmm.
have pictures in there, which obviously are fantastic for marketing.
Yeah.
But I don't love traveling with them because what I want agents to understand is that this is where partnership with a local planner would come in very handy. When you have been working with a couple the entire year and you show up to the property and the resort tries to throw you under the bus, even if it's with a stupid betting request, king versus double bets or whatnot, which happens very often. Now you have to deal with that instead of you dedicating yourself to the bride and groom, which is who you should be there for. So as a
Mhm.
rule of thumb, I don't. I already travel a ton. This year I travel about 2 weeks every single month
Oh,
between
man.
work trips, luxury fam, speaking events. Like I'm exhausted. I don't
Hmm.
need to be part of that trip because it's not a vacation for me. So I don't typically do it. I think when you're starting out, it's a fantastic idea to go so that you can see what happens and how you can improve and offer more services. Obviously, to get the pictures from the photographers as well. But if you
Hmm.
do, please charge fees because you're not going to be on vacation and you're going to be running around because those guests, the minute they see you there, they don't understand. They think you're there for free. They don't understand. So if you
Hmm.
go, I hope that you charge fees.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you'll also get, have to be working on that and everything too. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And yeah, and yeah, I love that picture. Those pictures are great. Those are awesome pictures that are like rare shots that are perfect for marketing.
And it's funny. Let me tell you about this picture. So what happened in this picture? It was so we had this wedding at the Royalton in two totally different ends of the resorts, and for like she wanted a chapel, right? At 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So of course it was extremely hot in
Oh,
Mexico. This was in April, and all of a sudden, like she was barefoot for the wedding, and all of a sudden we have to go all the way across for the cocktail hour, and she's like walking through that wooden bridge burning. And I see that and I run to her and I tell the boys like,
no.
hey, let's grab her so she doesn't burn. The photographer came running like at least 100 meters to capture this picture.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, oh, I could just
Like it
imagine
was
that. That would have
completely on plan. It was truly saving her from burning her feet.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it gets hot. That's a good tip if you're planning a wedding there.
And if you go, please make friends with your photographers because this is what
Yeah,
happens. They will make it look good. She sent me like 45 pictures of, me in action with people, and I didn't pay her for that.
yeah,
So
that's awesome. That's really cool. I
network.
like it. Yep, exactly. So another question here from Lori. So on marketing your business, do you make your Facebook group from your personal page or do you use your business Facebook page?
I don't know about today, but I know when I created my group a few years ago, you have to start it from your business. I'm sorry, from your personal profile. Like in order for you to create a group, you have to do it from your business profile, from your personal profile. And that's how I do it. So now when I post from the business page into it, I mean, I post both ways. Again, I think I'm pretty lucky that I've, whipped my brides into shape where like I never get brides trying to get customer service inside the
Oh,
group.
yeah.
They get it. That is just a motivational, like inspiration post. And, when I go to resorts, like I post exclusive pictures that I don't post anywhere else and whatnot. So it's really just like a lead generation thing. So it's like a community. And if they have questions about Spanx and, eyelashes and whatever, they can post there and get feedback from other ladies. But other than that, I don't get any drama in there. And it's just quiet and easy. So I post from both and it doesn't matter. Like they don't cross those boundaries.
Yeah, that's really cool and interesting too about it's not just a lead generation tool for you, but it's also a place that they feel comfortable to ask questions and get those answered about like amongst each other, which is really cool.
Yep.
On another question, so Shonda asks, even though you're using Facebook and Instagram, do you feel like a website is necessary?
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, the website is going to be your hub. Your website is going to be that home where everything lives. So I have, from my website, I have my blog, which I love. I don't blog as often as the gurus tell you to do, but I do it very strategically. But that's what I post, my reviews from my clients. I blog about I started to blog about wedding, like a wedding feature, so to speak, this year, which has given me tremendous feedback. Because when I talk to brides, they tell me during the consultation, oh yeah, I saw such and such wedding. Like they even know them by name. They stalk them that hard.
Yeah.
So that's where I have my blog. My online scheduler is connected to my website as well. I mean, at the end of the day, that is your home in the internet, and that is the only thing that you own. I mean, mine is WordPress based. Facebook, Instagram, all of that can go away tomorrow. My website is the one thing that no matter what new channel comes, or gets in, trendy, I can point to and get those contacts to come in. So 100%, I think is still necessary, and especially in the wedding industry, a very niche and pretty website. Look at every other part of the wedding industry, because believe it or not, once you do destination weddings as a niche, you're part of the wedding industry. And even the travel industry, when you look at resort websites, everything is pretty, everything is bright, everything is, dreamy. So you're not gonna get by with, getting hired by strangers with a mediocre website.
That's very true. Yeah. And it's also just a place, yeah, just bring everything in. And one question on here too is well, I'm just looking here. Do you have because I know that you have this on your website, is you have a form in there that they can fill out, but do you have a wedding consultation form that you're able to share? Nikki asked, or do you just use that form that's on your website, or do you have something different you use?
So what I use is, it's called an intake form, and it is actually built in my it's built in my online scheduler. So and it's just a short. I'm actually gonna rework it to make it even shorter, but just very specific questions that are gonna give me an idea of what they are looking at, and what they have researched and whatnot. So they have to fill that out as they make the appointment. Otherwise, they cannot get through with the appointment.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that makes sense. So it's just, so the shorter is better than what you're saying, basically.
Absolutely, because think about it as a client yourself. Most people are not gonna sit there and fill out a 30 minutes questionnaire just to get through to you. So mine, I think I timed it one day. It takes about 4 minutes. And actually, my follow-up emails, when they request information, I tell them that it was going to take about 4 minutes to fill this out. And if they find me somewhere else where, like for example, off of my Instagram, and they're not getting my nurture sequence, so to speak, they will, they will see that it's not super long either, but it just asks very specific questions, just enough for me to know what I'm going to talk about when we get on that 1 hour consultation.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. So another question here is, do you go to networking group besides the media groups? Do you do that?
No.
Nope.
No. And I wanna say, I think it's very important also to understand that there are different stages in business, right? There was a time in my business where I was doing everything just to see what was going to stick, what was going to work. So I'm not saying that they don't work for some people, but I will tell you, especially for local networking groups, for destination weddings, you are a bad word for them. Local networking groups are all about local business. So
Hmm.
when I'm there showing up, which I did for 2 years here, I went to the Chamber of Commerce and whatever, you're showing up and you're like the guy trying to send people away and spend money somewhere else kind of thing, which
Yeah.
doesn't make sense because at the end of the day, if I make money and I live here, like money's still staying here, but whatever. Um, it's just a very long-term game. And
Mhm.
while I'm okay with playing the long-term game, I always say that, make sure that you're in this for the long haul because it's going to take you time to build the business. Even if you were to sell 20 weddings tomorrow, they won't travel until 2019, 2020. So make sure that you're doing this for the long term. Otherwise, might as well just find a different niche. But local networking groups, unless they're wedding specific, they might be good for honeymoons and other type of vacations. But for destination weddings, I would not waste my money or my time. So I don't do any of them anymore.
Okay,
Plus,
cool.
I'm never home.
Yeah, that's you're yeah, traveling around. So
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
never home. So it's like I sign up and I'm like, oh, sorry, I can't make it. So it's like, why am I gonna pay $500 a year that I can
Mhm.
spend on something else uh,
Yeah, exactly.
to miss all the classes? So
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense, especially because you have your Facebook group and all these other ways that you can do that. Another question here from Diane is there a formula for setting your fees?
Um, God, a formula. That's funny because I was just thinking about this yesterday. After last night we had class in the playbook, and I was just thinking about that for a second. For me, my formula really, first of all, there was not a formula. I started with just a small fee just to get rid of the tire kickers and just to get people that were serious because I
Mhm.
got started, did the work, and then it just didn't, they disappeared. Like, what happened? Right. So at the beginning, my fee was basically just enough to cover the website that I provide for them, the custom URL. I always joke with them that it was to cover the prepaid phone card for when I have to call to the
Oh, sure.
in Costa del Resort in Spanish. Like it was a joke, but it made sense in my head. Like, okay, I gotta pay
Yeah,
$10 extra at T-Mobile to have this international plan, so it's like I gotta cover that.
it's
Um,
true. Yeah.
so it was small. Nowadays, I would say my fee on average, I wanted to cover at least three bookings, um, three regular bookings. So like if I was to book three regular all-inclusive resorts with like, $300
Mhm.
on average commission for, 4 nights, it should cover enough for that because again, that means that for every wedding consultation that I go after, I have probably ignored two or three other regular hotels that I could be booking. So by the time they cancel, by the time they give up or whatever, number one, they have skin in the game. Number two, it has allowed me to pay for more awesome tools that can make my life a lot easier with automation. And then also, again, I feel like if anything happens, I got compensated before
Mhm.
travel. So I would say make sure that it covers at least two or three bookings if you're going to start going after that.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A question here from Tracy, and this is kind of going off of what we were chatting about with like fees and stuff and but do you have potential clients sign a contract with you before you send them resort options and rates?
Yes. With a fee comes, I don't like to call it a contract. I call it a letter of agreement, which was,
Mhm.
has been written and rewritten and whatever for like added every time something happens. I go and add a
Oh,
little piece
yeah.
here. So yes, but they do have to get a letter of agreement. And that is, I am in the state of Florida, so that is not travel related whatsoever. That is exclusively for the wedding coordination, if you will, part of it. But yes, they have to agree to the letter of agreement when they submit their payment.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, that works. Another question here from Anna too is once you book the wedding date, do you use a vendor or the hotel directly for hotel rooms?
Up until yesterday,
Oh,
um,
very close. Perfect
up
timing
until
question.
yesterday, uh, it's always been 100% with a tour operator. Yesterday, I'm running into a situation there where it's just starting to make sense to like go with a resort, just for that particular instance, for because of a lot of other things that just didn't work out and the date is not flexible for my couple. Um, so I would say 99% of the time with a TL, yes.
Awesome, that's cool. And I have another question here from Amo Wumi. I hope I said that right. On there. So, where do you draw the line between travel planning and event planning? So, if you deal with the booking, finding a location, where is your job over? So, they're saying in my situation, they want a little more. They want me to connect with a flower person. So, how do you draw the line between that? Where do you let them know where you stand?
Well, at the end of the day, the beauty of being in business for yourself is that you get to call those shots, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, this is why number one, they cannot hire me unless they have that 1 hour consultation, and they
Mm-hmm.
cannot hire me unless they pay that fee which is attached to the letter of agreement, right? The reason is because it spells there very well, and I actually answer that because they do ask me during the consultation, okay, so do you help with them? Like, no. And then I spell out what I do, and I explain to them why I'm not the person dealing with the pricing of the flowers and the pricing of this, because at the end of the day the resort have their contracts. Those rates can change very easily, and let me tell you, the day I start doing that, I will charge them for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then I can just trust me, I could plan a wedding in a month if I had to and charge
Mm-hmm.
the money and be done with it. It's just not
Mm-hmm.
it's just not what I want to do. But again, business is always evolving. So at one point, it might make sense for me to do that, but I prefer to stay in my lane, right? And
Yeah.
my thing is I'm all about the logistics. At the end of the day, not the flowers so much, but when you're talking about all-inclusive resorts, uh, you know, especially if they have that trust and that rapport with you, brides are always asking me recommendations for, what do you think about the makeup person? And they're not asking me to choose it for them. They're basically asking me because usually this is what happened. They read in a different Facebook group, which is why you have to have your own, so
Yeah.
that you can give them the information as the expert. They read in a different Facebook group that the girls are hiring people from offsite. What is that about? Or photography. Oh, okay. I see that a lot of girls are bringing their own photographers or whatever. What do you know about that? Again, that goes back to being an educator. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
choose it for them, but I have to know at the resorts that I work with, the outside vendor fee is $1,000 or is $500. And the reason why you would go with an offsite vendor is because this, and that. You get better quality. You know what person you're getting versus the company, and so on. And I will tell you, over the past 2 years, including my own wedding, 50% of my couples, we have gone with offsite photographers and pay the fee because photography is that important for a wedding. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
I go and say you cannot separate the two. If you want to do a lot of weddings and you just want to do the travel part, working from home, it's going to be a very hard sell when you talk to these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where you draw the line. It's up to you. What do you want to service? What do you want to do for them? And then the things that you don't do, then you just refer back to my agreement. I don't know
Yeah.
enough
Exactly.
flowers. We gotta ask, Andreina at the resort, and there you go. Send the email and let her handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. So a question here from Paula. You were mentioning about this in one of the earlier questions is she said, can you please explain automation? What company do you use or do you create your own platform for
Oh God, no, please don't. So don't
that?
ever create your own platforms for this. And I see a lot of people that they want to, they have a little bit of knowledge about code and they want to build their platforms, they want to build their apps and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you something. The technology in the software industry is huge. You want clients to hire you to do what you do best. Let the techie people do what they do best. I will pay Travefy all day long so that they can maintain that app They can update whatever needs to be updated. Because what happens is when you try to build all of this crap yourself, and excuse me, I don't mean crap in a, in a bad way.
Oh,
It's just way over my pay grade. When you
mhm.
try to build all of these things yourself, that's taken away from the things that make you money. If you're avoiding paying $27, $30, $50 a month for a platform that you're going to have to maintain, you're going to have to update, you're going to have to be responsible for its compliance, its, integration, and, how the customer experience, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Because for that $50 and the amount of hours that's going to free up for you, you can sell 5 more trips or 1 more wedding, which is 25 rooms on average. All right. So please get rid of that mindset where you have to control all these things. I love tools. I use like 20 of them, and I will pay for them happily because they make my life easy, and I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. I just got to call somebody and be like, this broke. What do I do now?
Yeah.
So don't do that. So for automation, I use a plethora of things. It's a combination of, I use Vacation CRM as my
Mhm.
CRM, which does a lot of automation. Now, a lot of the things that these CRMs do nowadays have become kind of like we just take them for granted. Again, I've been in business long enough that I remember struggling to find a way to keep up with birthdays emails, just sending clients a congratulations email automatically. Vacation
Mhm.
CRM does that for me. They do all of the transactional emails about, final balance reminders and things like that. And then I use a platform called Active Campaign, which is essentially like an upgrade from MailChimp. You can use whatever you want, but when I left MailChimp, they were just starting with automation, and it was not powerful enough for what I wanted to do, where you could have like conditions, like if the person has opened this email, send them this one. If they didn't open it, send this one again. All of those like conditions they're called,
Mhm.
they didn't have them. So Active Campaign, after a lot of research, it just made the most sense for the limited use of a travel professional. And it starts at like $9 with a 500 people list. So
Mhm.
I still use it. It took me a little bit to like get the hang of it, but they've gotten a lot better with their education. So automation, and there's so much that you can automate, Stephanie. You can automate, again, the follow up after the call. Hey, thank you so much. Here's the recap. The recap is already done. I already wrote it for
Yeah.
years ago, and they're getting the same email. But I told them they were gonna get the recap. You can automate, again, the birthday celebrations. You can automate their upcoming trip, pre-travel tips. You can automate the reminders because they didn't get the insurance. Like, you can basically create a sequence for before they book you, in between payments, and then even after travel, automating your reviews, where they get that email consistently every single time to give you a review.
Yeah, no, that's so smart. And as somebody who works at one of those software companies, it really is true. Like, it's so true. That's what I do support. And I probably talk to a lot of you who are on here right now, and we are here to help you. So it makes it easier. Then we deal with it. We get to update everything and do compliance with, GDPR and all this stuff. So it's very, very, very true.
You guys are
Um,
the experts. I could never build with probably $500 a month. I could never build something like Travefy, and you guys do it for a very affordable price. So please be my guest.
yeah, and yeah, they've been around for a few years too, so it works. Been doing lots of great dev team and everything. So this was not a planted question. We swear to you, but Amoy asked this. He said, "Hey, Will, I've been a huge fan of you from DWSHA." Fan. And they were asking, how do you use Travefy for your destination weddings? They're just trying to figure out how to streamline Travefy for large groups. And I can help answer it if you need to.
That's okay. So I'm actually really bad in this area, and you guys know I'm all about being honest. So I started, and Scott walked me through this, and I created some like templates where like I had these hotels, load up with like pictures and whatever. So what was happening was I found, and I'm all about doing like, simplifying business. Like these industries are already complicated enough because none of the tools talk to each other. So I like
Mm-hmm.
to just come back and like cut that noise and like, let's simplify this, right? So for large destination wedding groups, first of all, like at the proposal stage, it didn't work too well for me because I felt like I had to keep building those hotels. And
Mm-hmm.
as much as I would love it, I don't have the time to sit and build 25 different, hotels, galleries, so to speak. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to that, I was trying to overdo it, which we all do from time to time. And I was trying to upload the guides and this and that. It was a lot more information that I wanted to give them at once because my job is to simplify the overwhelm for them, right? So I was like, okay, this is way too much information from the beginning. Like, this is not going to work for me. So the way I use it then is in the back end of it. So
Mm-hmm.
use it mostly for like to send them just the travel documents. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it depends. Sometimes if the group is too big, anything over 25 rooms. Remember, I'm one guy. Anything over 25 rooms, every single one of my clients gets printed travel documents. So if they didn't book flights with me, and it's like 25 plus rooms, then I just send them the mailing, or what do you call it, the printed version of it. I don't send them a Travefy one, other than to like the main people, the couple, mom and dad, and so on. However, I use Travefy for just about every other FIT that I do. No matter how complex or whatnot, I use it because my clients love the app.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool.
If you
Yes.
So my takeaway, I guess my suggestion with that one, if you are at a stage where you have the time to build the galleries for the resorts that you want to sell, build it now. It just, again, I'm just way too busy for that. And again, it's one of those things where like, okay, if it's not making me money, why am I gonna spend all these times building these things? I'm gonna have to update. So
Mm-hmm.
the tool is there, the capability is there. And especially for those of you that are super eco-friendly or don't have like a branded strategy where you're gonna mail, like I have now my branded luggage tags, my branded document holders, and all that good stuff. So it's like, again, it's a system. Everybody gets
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, so I no longer have to stress about that. If you don't have that, I think it's a great idea to just plug it in there and send it electronically to everyone.
Mm-hmm. So that's something that's really cool. So do you have like marketing materials? Well, I mean, it's actually marketing material, but not viewed as that, like luggage tags that you give to your brides.
Yes. So
That's cool.
I order. It's a very, again, simple. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just branded travel document. I'm like just looking for one here.
Yeah.
uh, no, hold on, let me show you because I do
Yeah,
have.
let's see this. And thanks everybody for these questions too. They're great.
All right. So
Ooh, yeah.
so I just had these custom made, and
Okay.
just, again, eco-friendly. So it's just a thick like linen paper one that they designed for me, and then this comes with
Oh,
one per
cool.
person. And this is just like plastic luggage tags. They're like about $1 something.
Mhm.
So everybody gets that, and of course my business cards and the printed travel documents.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's something that's just unique and they'll keep on there. It's, you know, just really cool addition there.
Lots of referrals from future
Yeah.
people. I'm like, oh, I'm engaged too, and you know a lot. So it's like,
Like
great.
perfect. Yeah, like perfect. Well, I know that we are coming up close to time, but I don't know. There's a lot of questions here, and I'm so sorry, everyone. We're not going to be able to get through all these. But just a quick question though for you, because you kind of mentioned, and you kind of mentioned this before, but just seeing if I don't know if you have another one. But what is your favorite? What's the best way that you find your bride? So you mentioned the Facebook group, but is there like a top way, or is that your top way of finding brides?
I think it's again, going back to, there's not a magic bullet. It's kind of like the strategy behind it, right? So
Hmm.
I try to, my thing goes between Instagram, Facebook group, and I do have a Facebook page, but that's just cross post because it's just to be there. Um, so it's Instagram, Facebook group, and then if I had to add a third portion to that, it would be my blog. Again, if you
Okay.
check out my site, I don't have 1,000 blog posts and whatever, but every one of them is very strategic. It's been about answering the questions, like the frequently asked questions that I get. And then nowadays, the last few ones is been highlighting like destination weddings, um, from real couples with, the real comments and whatnot. So I don't understand the whole SEO thing. Like I couldn't tell you this thing, but I always tell my students, the internet is a magical place, and I just believe that if you put enough content out there, things you just become part of the conversation.
Mhm.
I just show up to my Instagram. Um, I don't even worry too much anymore about the whole 3 times a day and whatnot. But remember, I've been putting in the work, right? So you do have to start somewhere. I was that one following every single strategy out there, 3 times a day, 2 times a day. Oh my God, the time and all that good stuff. Nowadays, I don't worry too much about that. But again, I've been doing the work. So I've been part of the conversation for, I would say, for probably 2 years on Instagram now. And the results, they keep coming in. And and that's it. And the biggest thing for me is with any marketing strategy, really, set goals, right? Because if not, you're just shooting in the dark. Again, as I said before, for me, if I spend 30 days showing up in the internet in all different forms for one wedding that month, that is so much easier than just showing up out there for, oh, I don't know, I just want a lot of weddings, right?
Yeah.
Of
Hmm.
course, to get one, I probably need 3 or 4 consultations because one won't show up, the other one won't want to pay my fee, the other one, she wants to spend $50 at a hotel. I'm gonna tell her, no, honey, no, thank you, but no, me. But it's just have goals, because just like in any sales position, and especially in the internet, if you show up blindly not knowing where you want to go, you're gonna end up nowhere. Because you're gonna get caught up in, I don't know what to post, I don't have enough followers, I don't have enough that. I only have like 2,500 followers, and I've talked to agents that have 15, let me see, 10, 15. One of them had almost 30,000 followers, and they were not getting a single wedding a year out of it, right?
Wow.
So it's not really about the number, even though it's a numbers game.
Mhm.
It's kind of like weird, but
Yeah.
um, the internet is a magical place. Just show up and become part of the conversation. And to become part of the conversation, you have to be clear on what you're advertising. You cannot expect brides to find you if you are consistently, if you're out there talking about, no disrespect, but Disney and 3 days NCL, booze cruise from Miami and things like that. It's just, that's not what they're looking for. They are
Mhm.
solving a very specific problem at that time, at that point in time.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I brought up too again the slide, I think it's below us, of the website too to get. And I know that like we could talk about this for hours. I mean, we could go into just talking about Instagram and hashtags and all that good stuff, and we could go forever. But yeah, I do want to be sensitive of your time, and I just want to thank you so much again. This is so awesome. I've learned a lot, and now it's just so cool. It's so intriguing, and I know everyone on here. You have a lot of fans on here too.
Oh,
A lot of people love you, and it's so cool. And we're just so excited. And everyone too, on here, feel free. Check out Will on Instagram. If you have any, email him. Check out the website. Join the Facebook group. After this, though, about an hour after this, we close this down. You'll get a recording. So that recording will be coming to you. You can share with everybody. Do all that fun stuff. But this was awesome. Thank you so much again, Will.
no, thank you, Stephanie and Scott. And as I said, thank you guys, for those of you that showed up to hang out with us. And again, please get educated, get trained, join the association, and come help me. There's a lot of business out there. And I feel that the better job we do as agents, in this arena, the better, the bigger we're going to amplify our message that as agents we are back. And I've been saying this for a few years, and it's not cliche. I really want to walk into a room where my competition is another travel agent and not an online travel agency. And I still have not found that. Like, I still don't remember the last time that I lost a wedding to another agent. you know?
Hmm.
So there's a lot of ground to cover. There's a lot of work to do. And then just remember, destination weddings are not as intimidating as you think. They're not easy, but they're very simple once you have a system. So thank you,
Hmm.
guys.
Yeah, thank you so much again. And thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday.
All right, take care.
See ya.
Bye.